Hey, this is Bijal on another episode of Be Epic Today, not tomorrow, today. And with me today is a very dear friend, Angie Grainger. Our story goes back over a decade. We've enjoyed adventures in India. But the reason I wanted Angie to kind of come on here is to talk about money. Yes, that topic of money. So first of all, Angie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here with you, Bijal.
I think this is a conversation long overdue. In fact, I get nervous when I talk to money professionals, and the reason I get nervous is because I don't think I've done a great job of managing money. And let me just tell you, Angie, before we get started, where this stems from. Very early on, right after graduation, I got introduced to personal development, and when you enter that world, I believe you create a mindset of, I'm gonna make it. I don't have to obey the normal rules. And that sense of overconfidence, I think, can be a little bit detrimental. And I do feel it's detrimental in my case because I ignored the money rules. I ignored the rules, the time-tested rules of money, thinking my next venture was going to be that next multi-million-dollar venture. Because that's the what I was being fed by the industry. Now, I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but I want to be very authentic about our conversation here today and for the people watching, because I believe we can uncover a lot. So first of all, Angie, I know that's a long self-explanation, but just give us your background and what makes you kind of an expert, especially during these times.
Well, besides having decades of experience as a finance person, so CPA, financial planner, and my first degree when I was 19 in accounting and tax. So, I've had my whole life around money. But my passion really stemmed from my own personal journey of realizing that my being afraid of money, I wasn't courageous enough to make some really bold decisions in life for my own happiness and my own health because of money. And once I started to make the connection between those two things, I became really passionate as a money coach and as a CPA planner to help people not only understand how money works, but how it affects your ability to be happiness based on what you're afraid of. So that gives me my passion behind why it's so important to look at money in a whole new way now.
That's awesome. And for those of you joining, one of my sponsors for this show is Financial Freedom. They are on a mission to teach money intelligence, financial literacy to children all over the world. To learn more, go to financial, that's FUN, freedom.win. And you can watch a free webinar there that really is designed to teach parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, teachers, adults, essentially, how to best educate their kids on money through the kids learning about money themselves. So, Angie, the reason I'm so passionate about that is if I could go back in a time machine, I really would make a lot of different decisions when it comes to money. We're all very familiar. Most people are familiar with the importance of the compound, interest effect. And yet, even though I remember seeing that very early on, I didn't get it. I didn't follow the money rules. So we live in very strange times. So do the regular money rules still apply?
So there's the old money rules or the regular money rules, and then there's the new money codes, which is what I teach. And the money codes, the old money codes, are all about being able to have money so that you have freedom. If I sum it up in a nutshell, right? Mine is have freedom and use money to create a great life so that you're in charge of money instead of money being in charge of you. So if you flip your mindset from that first, and now we look at the decisions we make about money, then we're making it besides just whether I'm paying too much interest or I should be doing this or should be doing that. Because then the bottom line is if you're in control and you're creating what you want with money versus money driving you, you're going to be happier. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's living your best life and being happy while you're doing it because it's going to be over. And if you look back and you regret that because of money, what kind of level of fulfillment are you actually going to have in your life? And
so I want to challenge you on this one, okay?
Sure.
The one thing about living in the USA is the here we go. All right, this is it. The magic plastic. Okay, I wouldn't be off record with saying that we have a debt problem in this country, right?
Right.
But isn't this the freedom that you're speaking of, right? Why don't we just get a bunch of credit cards and live that freedom lifestyle today and just pay debt? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, because what does it feel like to owe people money, right? It doesn't feel good. And so what do? We avoid it. And then we don't make decisions and we just go spend more because we don't want to deal with that. We just want what we want right here and right now. Instead of being able to, like, this is the number one new money code that I focus on. The first thing to do is to confront your money, look at it. When I first, the couple phases in my life when I started confronting, one is I listed out where all my money was spending. And then I listed out all of my values. And I realized that my values and my spending were exactly opposite. No wonder I wasn't happy. And then later on in life, I confronted my credit card, a few years later. Holy crap, I was $150,000 in debt. And so I said, you know what? Thank you, everybody who let me use this money to float through, the recession years. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to repay you. And so I went on a mission and paid off $80,000 debt in a few years. So no, it's not about just overspending and using people's money. It's about being able to be in control of money and making those decisions that are moving you toward that goal you're trying to achieve.
So one thing I can agree with that. There's a period of time between 2010, 2015, we pretty much sold everything, and wearing a very minimalistic, simplistic lifestyle, and our lifestyle was so in alignment with our values, friendship, just experiences in life, and we owned the least amount of stuff during those 5 years. And I'd say we were the happiest in those 5 years. So,
and what happened? Sorry, Vijal, but I've got to push you on this too, because what happened when you came back? Because I remember when you came back.
The opposite. As we started to accumulate stuff, first of all, when we came back with the thinking we're going to live this next grand chapter of our life, and it totally got flipped on us by something very unexpected. And the preceding, I think, 12 months after we came back to the US had to be one of the most miserable in my life, and ranking one of the worst years of my life. But during that time, we're also spending because we had to accumulate stuff again to put back into our life because of just the basis of living in the US. So yeah, absolutely, totally agree with that. So give us an insight into the new money codes as you share them, Angie, in terms of what are they and how are they applicable today, like in this pandemic. And let me kind of give you my example. I just want to be very vulnerable to people here, in terms of, when this happened, my first mindset was conserve as much cash as possible. And just before we go on this call, you shared something which was like a mind blow moment, right? Just a kind of mic drop moment. But that was my gut reaction to what's going on. It was like conserve cash, conserve cash, conserve cash. Pay as little debt off as possible, just in case everything goes to shit, right? Now, but you took a completely different approach, which made me think, oh, maybe I'm not understanding this correctly.
Well, yeah, that was a great question. And you had asked me, well, what are you doing during this COVID, the situation that we're in? Are you stashing cash? And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm buying assets, because paying off debt doesn't build wealth. Stashing cash doesn't build wealth. Being courageous enough to buy assets that are going to increase your wealth later, that's where the courage is. And that, when I made that decision to do that, it came from and it stemmed from the fact that I know how to make money. I am confident in my abilities to create money, which is the second money code, being able to create money. Because if you know how to create money and you're willing to confront the truth of your situation and really look at it, including your values, but also, looking at the truth that maybe you're not where you want to be at this point in your life, and the old money system you've been using isn't working.
So Angie, here's the thing. But you're a qualified CPA. You've got your accounting background. People will say, but Angie, but that's easy. You've gone through the schooling system. You've got your degrees. You're a professional. You can just kind of make money. So what about people who are in jobs or losing jobs? What about people who have businesses that are no longer functional? Do your money codes apply to them as well?
Yeah. So it doesn't have to do with my degree or my credentials or yours or anyone's. It has to do with your true spiritual talents. What are your talents, right? Because your talents and your ability to understand that your talents can help other people, and focusing on those two things together, find something that somebody else needs and align yourself with what you do best. Because there's many years of me being miserable doing taxes. I never liked to do taxes, and or accounting for that matter. But when I started to realize, no, what my gift is I can turn almost any situation from busted to booming, whether that's a business or my own personal life or at a job. And once I got really clear, I'm like, that's my basic purpose. Now I just have to understand, what do people need? And if I find a place where I can apply that to where somebody needs, I can create money. And so can anybody else. And the schooling really does not have anything to do with it, because oftentimes we get into our schooling and it's not who we should be. And I know that's for you, Rizal, because you didn't go to school to be who you are today either, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's I get to speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, Angie, and during these times, so many of my clients have thrived tremendously during the last several months. They're just taking a different approach to the problem. So I do believe, even in these times, in fact, just last weekend, I was on a webinar workshop actually with an individual from Australia, John Logar, and he was just saying that right now there are amazing opportunities around, if you're just willing to stop looking at the closed door and look at the potentially open doors, or even better still, create your open doors.
Yeah, and Vishal, what I found from all of the personal development and internet marketing types of classes and courses and things that are out there, what's missing is the very basic thing, which is get people results. If you help people get results, money will come to you, because it is about an exchange of value. And if you exchange in abundance and give out more results, help people get results, opportunities are going to just flow to you. You'll be the money magnet. And if you do it with your natural skills and your naturalness, if you really listen to yourself in that way, then it becomes fun and easy for you, and it's not a job or a chore. But the main thing is really understanding. Focus on the results. Like every new opportunity that I launch on, when I relaunched my business, the last few times I've relaunched, I've quadrupled or 10 times my money, just because I talked about the results that people were getting by working with me.
That's awesome. Angie, so that's your second money code. What's the first money code? Maybe I missed it.
So the first money code, let me give them to you in order here. Okay, so the first money code is confront. You've got to confront. So confront just means look at. Like really honestly look at how your relationship is with your spouse and how money's working in that relationship. Look at where you are at this point in your life. Are you where you thought you should be? Nobody's ever answered yes, by the way. But this is where you've got to heart to heart sit down and look at the truth, confront it, because you can't solve problems you don't confront. That's the fundamental rule behind that. Then the second money code is learning how to control money, because control just means manage or being able to use it at your will. So you want to be in the driver's seat of your money and not have money driving your decisions. And that's where you've heard me talk about in the past, how money actually works using my formula, HOME, the home formula, that actually shows the basics of accounting in a very simple way. And once you understand how money works, it's easy to put it in control. Then the third one is create. And this is what I've been talking about, is understanding what makes you a money magnet. And you being that money magnet is getting very clear on your natural skills and how they serve others, because then you can turn it on and off at will. And when you're in that place of turning it on and off at will, That's where the confidence comes from, that I can tell you, yeah, I'm going to go buy assets during a recession, even if that means I have zero cash, zero cash. I don't need a safety net. I know how to make money. And I've tested it and proved it to myself so many times that for so many years I didn't believe it for myself, but everybody would tell me that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But finally I started believing it. And finally I started testing it. And I'd say, wait a minute, I want money for X. And then I would point my direction at X, and then next thing you know, I would have the money for that. I went over and over again getting results. I realized, why am I not believing myself? And once I started believing myself and the ability for me to create, the game changed.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So Angie, so people who are watching this right now, obviously everyone's in each person is in a unique financial situation. Do you believe that the new money codes are applicable to everyone?
So here's the thing, in America especially, the reason people often are stressed about money is because they're not willing to let go. You understand what it felt like when you were willing to let go, and that freedom you had to live a great life. That's what the money codes represent. It represents having life freedom and directing your money towards your goals. And it's not about waiting until you have the money to do things. So what all the years of money coaching and helping people, what creates people getting stuck is they're not willing to be flexible to change something. So, all right, okay, here's a perfect example that most people won't do. I'm in LA right now. I live in Hollywood. And I tell you, there's a lot of homeless people. It's not a good environment. Everything's still shut down after 6 months. So I can stay here and be upset in my department if I don't like how things are going and having the world doing things to me. Or I can take charge of my environment and make it different for me, which means I might get rid of my furniture. I might not. I'm going to move up north where my family is. I'm willing to let go of the path I thought I was on, let go to the things that I, accumulated, and letting go of that is where the freedom comes from. And that's what keeps us stuck in money is I don't have money, so I won't move. I don't have money, so I won't make a decision. I don't have money, so I won't. Or when I have money, then I will. And that's what creates the downward spiral.
I just wrote down some words here in my Yogi, my wife Yogi, obviously you know Yogi, Angie very well, but her one of her programs is freedom from stuff.
Right.
And that stuff can include money related matters, right? The more we want to hold on to, the less freedom we truly have sometimes.
Yeah, and I remember one couple I work with, after working with me for a few months in my money couples coaching, they were like, "Oh, you saved my marriage." And I saved their marriage, just to get them to think about it in terms of their marriage was falling apart. Their life was really miserable. He had gotten laid off from his job in, 2009. And, she had a real high value of life, of having high quality foods and, for her family and all of that. But they wanted to live in the country, but they had an expensive house up in NorCal. And so when I started confronting with them, like, you want this, but you're not willing to let go of this. What if you just moved to Colorado where it was a lot cheaper? Oh, we can't, like panic would set in because they weren't willing to shift their dream to find the things that would actually make them happy. And so when they started to realize that and started to work together as a team to put their money towards those underlying values instead of the things they thought were going to bring them the values, it completely changed their relationship. So I think that's the point I'm just trying to make of why does it work for everybody? Because it's not money that creates the happiness. It's getting the happiness, getting clear on that, and then being that money magnet and putting the money toward where you want it to go, which is actually the fourth money code, which is command it. Command where you want your money to go. You be in charge of it. And we're often victim to, I can't afford it. Biggest excuse ever, I can't afford it. That's such baloney. That's not true. You're choosing to use your money somewhere else. You're choosing not to focus on how you can create more money or how you can increase your income.
I want to go back to something I mentioned earlier, but I still feel it's like, okay, you know what? If I choose that path, Angie, like, okay, I want to control. I'm not going to wait I still kind of, I feel like I'm coming back to this. I feel like I'm coming back to funding that on credit, right? So where's the line between what's good credit and what's bad credit? Like, how do you coach people in terms of when to use credit and when not to use credit? Because it was so easy for me to take out one of my credit cards and go, fund a vacation, right? But is that the right thing to do? In these times, how does one process that?
So that's great. And I think about credit, using credit the same as if you were making a decision about using your cash, because it's just another resource for you, right? So would you spend your, $5,000 that you have in cash to go on vacation, or would you put it on credit? So it's the same decision process. Are you directing your money or your resources in this case toward that goal that's going to give you the most fulfillment? Things often are short-term solutions to get you to escape from like uncomfortability. And so when we use our money for these short-term things, we're not owning our bigger purpose for being here, really. I mean, that's kind of esoteric, but the truth is that I don't want to die on my deathbed wishing I wasn't brave enough to really fulfill my purpose as a human here. So it's my duty to figure out what that is. And if I continue to use my resources for things that make me feel comfortable instead of my duties, then I'm never going to have that sense of it. And duty meaning my duty as to what what am I here for? Like my human, what's my purpose as a human here? And duties for how to use money in a way that supports that.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, Angie. So Angie, I'm a parent, as you know, and recently I started working with a company in the UK called Financial Freedom in terms of advising some of their team members. And my daughter, Shivani, who you also know very well, but you've seen her last 10 years growing up,
Yep.
she recently joined the company as their community champion, in terms of getting their members more engaged. Now, this company, they basically have created an education program for kids. And one of the challenges is kids seem disinterested when it comes to money, right? Everything's provided for in some shape or form. Now, maybe not every kid, but generally speaking. Now, what's your advice to parents? Like, when do we as parents, because I don't remember really getting a 101 on money in my young days. And maybe it's my parents may just assume that, as you grow up, become adults, you naturally learn about money. But the level of debt, the level of financial illiteracy is evident, right? So what's your advice to parents in terms of how do we start teaching kids about money? When and how?
Yeah, great. The most important thing you can do as a parent is be a role model. That's the most important thing. And if you are a parent and you are confronting money, you're not afraid to talk about it. You're not afraid to talk about how much you make or how much you spend or how much in debt you are, right? Being confronted. And that you're demonstrating as parents together as a couple that you have life purpose you're working toward, you have vision that your money is going toward, and that you're honest and upfront with those decisions, whether your kids like it or not. Whether you're not being afraid to tell your kids no or no and being able to be the role model of it. The thing that's important about it too is that kids aren't going to pay attention to money. They just aren't. I don't know if you know this, but I helped facilitate the whole financial literacy campaign here in California as the chair of the CPA Society, and we launched 1,500 CPA volunteers in the high schools to help teach the money to kids with MEFI. But my passion has always been with the parents, because the parents have to be the role models and they have to learn them themselves to be able to practice it. Then when kids have real life situations, you know what to apply to it. So for example, if your daughter needs money for a new car, right? Now you'll know how to help her make decisions about that. You might be in a position to loan her money for that car at work and teach her about the interest and how it works, because you know it, and then you know how to apply it. So that's my number one rule, Bijal, is that master it as a parent, because you're going to be the most influential on all your friends and your kids and your family if you're confronting money and you're creating money and you're commanding money in the direction, that you want money to go for you.
Angie, I've heard you use this word several times, and it's interesting because you're very specific in using the word confront versus look at or become aware of, or just So you're very meticulous in this word confront. This must be deliberate because everything you do is deliberate. Why the word confront?
Well, I think that comes deeply from my karate years, from all of my years in martial arts, of being able to just not be afraid of it. And I don't want to be wishy-washy with you. I don't want you to be soft about it. Like, if I just say, well, let's look at your money, you're like, okay, I'll go home and look at my money. But if I say, Vijal, you need to confront what's really going on. It's kind of like that wake-up call. Don't be afraid. I'm going to challenge you to confront it, open it, and be with it, and feel the vulnerability behind it. Oh, my heart just hurts even saying that word sometimes. And that feeling behind it, that why we're avoiding it and we're not wanting to look at it and we're not wanting to confront it, that's why it keeps getting worse. So it's almost like a personal challenge to say, I'm going to get over this mountain. I'm going to confront this. I'm going to step up to the battlefield, and I'm going to be brave about it.
Yeah, I just, Angie, you're one of our best friends on the planet, and yet when it comes to talking about money, even to you, even though you're one of our best friends, and I know that we'll get nothing but nurturing and kindness, there is an aspect of me that's afraid to talk about money to people because I don't feel I've done a great job of it. It's almost embarrassing, that age 50 to say that, but it's true. But what you're saying is, hey, this first step in the new money codes is you just got to face the facts, right?
Right, because like I said before, you can't change something you don't confront. That's just a fact. You can't solve any problem that you don't really look at. But when you confront it, you break it down into component parts, and then you have understanding. But we're really afraid that we're not going to understand it, or it's going to be overwhelming, or we're going to get a big fight with our spouse, or whatever we're afraid of. But when we actually look and we start breaking it down, it becomes doable. It really becomes doable on that. And so that's why it's so important. And being able to do it, I say do it with such compassion, because there has never been one client of all my 30 years of doing this, almost 30 years of doing this, that has been proud of where they are with their money. Not one. Doesn't matter if they've made millions, lost millions, have millions, have nothing, have, debt, gone bankrupt, whatever. Nobody has felt good about their money. So that's where in the money codes, I teach what the new formula for financial freedom is. It's being proud of your progress and living a life you love right now. Because you're never going to be there. You're just never going to be there. But what makes you feel good about your money, and when you feel good about your money, more great things happen, right? But if you don't feel good about it, you're hiding more, you're avoiding more, and you're cutting yourself off from creativity, which means being a magnet. So what happens is that if you are willing to see where your progress is and you have pride in that, that means you're confronting it and you're taking action. So you might set a goal or a target that, this year I'm going to build assets, or this year I'm going to reduce debt, or this year I'm going to increase my income, or this year I'm going to focus on my spending, the 4 core areas of the HOME. Then now you can look at that and you say, oh, where am I starting from? I'm going to confront that. Where am I going to? Okay, got it. Now, what's my progress on that? And it doesn't matter if you're making a baby step progress on it or if you've made leaps and frogs on it. The progress is what makes you feel great. But having the other piece in it, living a life you love, means not doing that at the expense of what makes you have a great life right now. Because it won't work. If you're having a great life right now, your money's going to it's going to be spending it all on credit cards. You're not going to pay attention to it. But if you're being attentive with your money and you know where you're going, you know where you are, you've confronted it, and now you're taking actions toward it, but you're still having a great life, no matter what your situation is or where you are, you just decided you're going to be happy within that, that's financial freedom. That's the new formula for financial freedom.
Wow, that's awesome. I just wrote something down here, Angie. I wrote a lot of stuff down, actually. I don't normally write stuff when I'm actually interviewing somebody, but there's such a wealth of wisdom here.
Awesome.
But you mentioned something, be proud of your progress. And I think, if I interpret it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not about, hey, once you confront it, you're going to solve it tomorrow. It's confront it and then start to make progress in doing the right things, even if it's a little bit daily, for a period of time. It may take a few years to do it, but as long as you keep making that progress, you're on that right path. Did I interpret that correctly?
That's absolutely right, because you don't know if you're ever going to hit the end result or not. You just don't know if you're ever going to. For example, when I really confronted that, I was really in a lot of credit card debt after the recession and all that. I literally took all my credit cards and taped them on a piece of paper and wrote the balances and stuck it on my wall. And I'm like, oh, that feels terrible. Oh my God. Like, how did that? And I'm like, no, that's okay. I'm going to pay off that card first. And when I paid it off, I crossed it off and took the card off the wall. Right. So it's like, okay, so I am where I am. Now I can have some compassion for, I don't want to be here, but I am here. And that's so important. That's what confront means. It's like just, okay, this is where I am, and it doesn't feel good, but it's better to just look at it than it is to keep avoiding it, because avoiding it was making it worse. So
Wow.
a simple little thing like that says, okay, now I'm going to focus on that goal for a year, right? And I put all my resources toward that, and that's how within 18 months I paid off $80,000 in debt. I was determined. I'm going to create the money, and I'm going to put it toward that goal. Now I'm putting money toward my assets. I'm creating money and putting it towards assets. So everybody has different timing of when we focus on earning income, when we focus on reducing expenses, when we focus on building assets, when we focus on debt. But you just choose one and watch how, when you put your focus on it and you get in alignment with it, watch how fast it happens. I mean, that's my challenge to you, Miguel. Watch how fast it happens. It's amazing how fast it happens.
Yeah, thank you for putting me under the pressure. So Angie, so let me ask you this question. So people may be carrying some debt right now, right? And you're saying, hey, this is a perfect time to invest in assets. So what percentage do you still continue to contribute to debt reduction while you're focusing on building assets, or do you just pay off your minimum and put everything towards asset acquisition? How does one decide?
Yeah, so you decide by having your plan. What's your target you're going to get to? And you make that decision. So for example, my target right now is buy assets, and I needed to come up with $40,000 this week, and I came up with it. Okay, all right, I had to go in $6,000 debt in order to fulfill one thing I wasn't expecting. Fine, I'm not going to worry about that one right now. I'm going to get this, buying a house. I'm going to buy this house, and then next I'll go back to reducing debt back down again. So it's always just what's your target, and then put your attention toward your target and create the money and the resources in order to fulfill that, and just stay on it until you've got it, then choose a new one. So wow. You're in control of it. It's not in control of you. You're not, the credit cards are not, this addictive temptation. I mean, they're like a little crack card,
Yeah.
So what do I do in that case? I don't have that stuff around. Like I have credit cards, but I just cut them all up and threw them away. Like I don't need them. I mean, they're there if I have to, but I've made a decision I'm not using them for that. So same, like I don't buy ice cream in the freezer,
Wow. So Angie, so let's wrap up with, let's just recap that is it the 5 money codes?
Yeah, so the last one, just to make it real clear, and then I'll just do the last code, which I kind of said, but I want to say it directly. It's commit. You've got to commit to be the driver of your financial life. If you're going to sit on the back of the bus, then money's going to always drive you. This commitment is such an important, heartfelt, are you willing to live fully kind of commitment? And it's not easy, because it means shifting everything that you think you know about money and saying, no. I commit to holding my duties with money and holding my duties as a human. And what that means is that my duties with money are to be a self-sufficient contributing member of society. So my decisions have to follow my duties. And me as a human, I always ask myself, what's my product as a human, And it's more of like, as long as I am contributing back to society with my natural skills and talents and helping other people, and I make that contribution large or small, then I know I'm fulfilling that duty. Now put my money to that. Am I going to do that, or am I going to chicken out? So that commitment is really important. So the recap, the 5 money codes, the new money codes, the new way of thinking is number 1, confront it. Have the courage to be honest with yourself and your spouse. Number 2 is control it. Learn how money works, the basics, the what you have, what you owe, what you make, what you spend. That's all you need to know. We'll go over that in a different interview. Number 3 is you got to be a creator of money. You got to know how to be a money magnet. And number 4 is command money into the direction you want it to go. You drive it. And number 5 is commit to that. Commit to fulfilling your duties as a human and as a money person. Like, commit to taking responsibility of putting yourself in the driver's seat of your money.
Wow, everyone just take that in, take a deep breath, and just take that in. This is a profound moment in the interview. I hope you wrote those down. If you haven't, rewind and get those codes down. Reach out to Angie. She's on my Facebook if you want any kind of clarity around this. But Angie, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. I think I needed to hear it. I hope others watching this took something away from this. So Angie, but it's that time of the show where we have to say buzz off. So Angie, until next time, thank you so much. We will see you soon, but bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.